well. So great. I'm
Perfect.
ready.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you guys again for joining. My name is Katie. I'm here with Shapa. And today we're so excited. We have Liz Josefsberg, health and wellness expert, weight loss industry for about 15 years, and she's been a consultant and advisor with us for Shapa as well. I know recently we did a vote in our Shapa community. Shout out to anyone who's in there. Just asking what kind of content do you want to see from us right now? Because I know we're all just experiencing these crazy times, and really it is uncertain. We're not really sure day to day like how to handle these things. So a big topic was can we get some content on some stress and anxiety and ways to manage this. So we're so excited to have Liz here to hit those topics and hopefully give you some stuff today that you can take away and take with you into these next few days. So I'll give it away over to Liz.
Great. Thank you, guys. I am going to share my screen with you. I did prepare a little PowerPoint for you today. I'm excited to be here. I have been a friend and family, if you will, of Shapa for almost 3 years. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that throughout this presentation. But once you guys, any of you out there who already have used the Shapa scale and know it well, understand, and if you know me, will understand very clearly why I'm such a fan of the Shapa scale. For anyone who's in here for the first time, maybe you're friends of mine and you don't know what Shapa is, just from the beginning of this presentation, they are a digital Bluetooth scale that does not show numbers. It's a numberless scale that instead works on behavior modifications and kind of helps to eradicate that fear of the scale, and instead helps you develop a healthy relationship with stepping on a device each morning, recording those important numbers, but never having to see them. And instead we work with a color and an age to help you understand if you're moving in the right direction. So it's really an interesting device. I did a lot of work with them a couple of years ago, consulting and advising, and it just made perfect sense for me to jump in here with this community today and really share some of my knowledge. I created this PowerPoint, and I even said this to the ladies as we got going. I am trying to achieve a lot today, so to hold on to your hats. So first thing I thought I should do is at least introduce myself. My name is Liz Josefsberg. I'm a weight loss expert. I have been in the industry for a very long time now. Actually, it's even closer to almost 20 years now. But I put this slide up because I think it's most important for you guys to know that I'm not just a weight loss expert and a wellness expert, but I actually have had a weight issue. I really started when I was 12 years old. I was put into a diet center and struggled. I lost 30 pounds about 5 times. That graduated to a 50-pound weight loss. And then at my highest weight, I actually had to lose 65 pounds. I've had that weight off now for about 10 years. And I show this slide also because I want you to see that I am like you. If I understand, there's nothing you could say to me. There's no question you could ask me that I don't understand. I put this up also to show you that I was actually a professional actress before I transitioned into the weight loss world. And I put that up there. That's me as Cosette in Les Miserables. I actually have a master's degree in opera and had a whole other career as a professional actress. If you can imagine what it was like to have a weight issue as a professional actress, up and down and walking into auditions and looking completely different than the last time they saw me. So it was punishing and it was difficult. And it led me on a journey of my true desire in life is if anyone out there is in pain, emotional pain, I would hope to relieve some of that. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is in that realm. So when I left acting, I actually ended up going and joining Weight Watchers. I had never done this. I was in my 30s and I'd never done Weight Watchers. It changed my life. I ended up becoming, I ended up starting to work for the company at the lowest level of the company. I was one of the people that when you came in, I weighed you in. So I stayed in that realm, that weighing people in, and became a leader. And then I was hired into the corporate office offices and worked at every single, pretty much it seemed like in every department, and so many jobs in Weight Watchers. I actually was on the science team. I helped them write weight loss programs for years. I ended up becoming their national spokesperson and eventually became their celebrity weight loss leader or guru, if you will. It was my job to fly all over the country and help any celebrities that wanted to do Weight Watchers achieve their goals, and then help them if they wanted to become spokespeople themselves. So Katie Couric, Jennifer Hudson, Jessica Simpson, Charles Barkley were just a few of my clients over the years. Weight Watchers was an incredible experience. I stayed there for 11 years. But I honestly played almost every role that you can play in a major corporation. And I became really well known as a Weight Watchers expert. But my true desire was to become a weight loss industry expert. So I left Weight Watchers after 11 years and I started my own consulting firm. I then started consulting all over the world in weight loss. I started designing programs for large companies like Lifetime Fitness. I went back to school. I became a personal trainer. I got a nutrition exercise specialty. I just basically wanted to just drink up everything there was for me to know about weight loss and wellness in a more holistic way. That sort of led me to start consulting all around the world, and that's what connected me with Shapa. I had been consulting at all over in devices and technology specifically around weight loss, and Shapa was one of those incredible technologies that came along. This sort of Bluetooth enabled scale that wasn't looking at just a weight, right? And I had learned through the years that just looking at weight is pretty much a useless number. And Shapa was looking at all of these indicators like lean muscle mass and hydration and all of these different numbers to come up with a much more holistic vision of what wellness was. I did work at United Healthcare and Optum. I'm an ambassador for the Vitamin Shop. I then wrote my own book called Target 100, based out of those sort of, almost 18 years in the wellness industry. And the weight loss industry for me was something that once I got behind the curtain, when I really got behind the scenes, I wanted people to know the truth, that the weight loss industry is talking about food, right? It's almost like everything in the weight loss industry is like, if you just eat less and move more, if you would just eat this and don't eat that, and oh, here, I'm going to give you a list of foods and just eat this list. It just was so dehumanizing and difficult for me to understand. So I wanted to go behind and really find out and change that perspective on what is real and lasting weight loss look like. And so I am a diet guinea pig on top of everything else. I literally do every diet there is out there so that I can test out theories and hypotheses as well. So I often will even gain 10 to 12 pounds back. And yes, it is fun, but it does come back very, very quickly. I'll gain those 10 to 12 pounds back, and then I test diets. I test devices like Shapa and Level and breath analysis devices and things like that. I've done keto, Whole30. I've tried every liquid diet. I've tried everything. And so I wanted to write a book that kind of pulled the curtain back on the industry and told the truth about what real and lasting weight loss looks like. And what I learned through all of these companies and all of this interaction with the consumer, and then being the consumer myself, is that this is not about food. This is about behavior modification, and this is about understanding that if you don't think about this as a more holistic version than just a food plan, that you are doomed and destined to fail over and over and over. I did it. I've been there. So I created this idea that this was based on 6 pillars. And the 6 things that I ask you to look at in my book, Target 100, are, yes, nutrition. We are looking at nutrition. We're looking at carbohydrates and trying to pull those back. We're looking at movement and exercise. Those 2 pillars are separate, right? Movement being your everyday sort of movement, exercise being something that stresses the cardiovascular system. We must look at stress. we have to look at our sleep patterns, and we must consider hydration in the equation. That by just looking at one of these, you've left out 5 of the others. So this was really kind of my life's work, was to pull back the curtain. I knew after being in the diet industry for so long that I had to give you guys a plan. If you were going to be successful, you needed the structure of a house. And then behind the structure, I wanted to kind of give you a 1-2 punch. And that is, for me, the 1-2 punch is, yes, I've given you this loose structure of these 100s, right? We're looking at 100 grams of carbs a day and 100 ounces of water and 100 minutes of exercise in a week. We've got all this. We've got this program because I think all of us need structure and organization. But what I teach you on the backside, and what I think is so fascinating and important about what Shapa is doing, is that I discovered that it was all about habits. It was all about how we were living our lives. And it was all about people beginning to understand that what they were doing were these subconscious, unconscious patterns that were not healthy for them. And if we could uncover the patterns or the triggers, then we could change their lives. So long story short, what is a habit? A habit is a 3-pronged behavior pattern that we go through over and over and over in a day. So, and crazy enough, up to 50% of what we do, it's been estimated that up to 50% of what we do in a day is simply habit. Now, what is a habit? A habit is the way that you brush your teeth. If we pulled back and we watched you brush your teeth, it would be frightening. You would see that you use the same hand and that you start on the same teeth on the upper left side and then you move to the lower. It's one of those things where when you finish, you can't remember if you've done it or not, right? It may be the way you wash your hair. Have you ever gotten out of the shower and been like, oh, did I wash my hair? It's because you literally aren't present, because you don't need to be, because your brain has done the pattern so many times that it takes it from this sort of frontal lobe and shunts it to a further back portion of the brain where you can just go through that pattern without being present. Right? If you've ever driven somewhere and gotten there and, basically said, how did I get here? That's another, just the brain sort of shunting this repeated behavior into the back. What a habit looks like is a 3-pronged pattern. There is some sort of a trigger, then there is some sort of routine, and there is some sort of reward that takes place. So if up to 50% of what we're doing in a day is just habit, then up to 50% of our eating patterns are just habit or habit loop based. So I get a lot of people saying to me, I have a really, really rough time with nighttime eating. And when we start to undo and look at that as a habit rather than something that's wrong with you, because there is nothing wrong with you. We all love to eat at night, but we're all also being triggered at night by a whole bunch of different things. And when we look at the triggers, right, and the routines, and we can break up a routine. I always say I've helped people lose more weight by moving their furniture than I have by giving them a food plan. You sit in the same exact spot on the couch each night, and then you watch perhaps a television program with the same person sitting next to you, and you have patterns and behaviors that are triggered, and then there is a routine. Okay, well, I am going to get up and get one small bowl of this or one small bite of that. Then we get the one small bite, which triggers us further into a pattern of, oh, now I need this and now I need that. The reward is a serotonin release. When we eat high salt, high fat, high sugar foods, we know this now, is that there is serotonin released. You actually feel better. It reduces stress and anxiety. So as we begin to talk about stress and anxiety at this time, and we really try to educate you on the habit loop here, I'm going to kind of reframe this entire thing, is that if I've just told you that 50% of what you do in a day is habit, but for most of us, our entire lives were literally blown apart 5 or 6 weeks ago, and all of our habits and all of our behaviors were eradicated, then we're in this sort of crazy opportunity to build new habits. So once we understand the habit loop, there's a trigger or a cue, there's a routine, and then there is a reward. we can begin to take this moment, this difficult moment we're in, and see it as an opportunity to actually eradicate all of the negative habits that we had and rebuild new habits. Now, what I think is probably crazy is that, even 5 and 6 weeks in, you probably have noticed that you and your family have already begun to create habit loops and habit patterns out of necessity. We cannot make all these decisions. I cannot decide how to wash my hair every single day because I need some space to make new decisions. So the brain loves to look for patterns and create patterns so that it can create these loops and put them at the back of our brain to save space for decision making in the front. So even 5 and 6 weeks in, I can tell you, we've got a place where the boys do their work, and we have times at which we're eating lunch, and we have walks that we do at night with the dogs, and we have X, Y, and Z things, these patterns we've created. I'm in a lucky situation. I understood what was going on. But for those of you guys who are struggling right now with this, I want you to see this as a new opportunity, and to try to understand that anytime you can create a pattern, you can actually take that looping. Now that you know the habit loop, you can use it to your advantage and say, okay, I would like to see a better behavior around my nighttime eating. So instead of sitting on the couch and perhaps, as I said, moving furniture has been a real key for me. I have had people move that side table that was next to their couch where they set their snacks and their drinks. We move it, and all of a sudden you can't set your food down, and it triggers you to remember, because remember, habits, we don't even recognize them because we've done them so much. You may come back from that pantry with something and sit down to go eat it without even really realizing what you're doing. This triggering it with some move, right? Triggering it with some kind of new, seeing something new, or I've moved people upstairs to watch television. I'm triggering them into a new space. It can really change that pattern. So that trigger says, oh, our new routine is to not eat while we're watching TV at night. Or perhaps it is, oh, I see, I was going to go get some food. Instead, I'm going to brush my teeth right now so that I'm not tempted to eat. And then that reward is sort of that feeling of pride, or that feeling of like, oh, I did this. And then perhaps even further out, the reward is the weight loss. So we make up to 200 food decisions in a day. Those food decisions are triggering us all the time. Us seeing commercials, us seeing, ads on our phone, us having to serve, I'm having to serve meals to my children so much more than I had to just a few weeks ago. I'm being triggered each time I see food. So understanding that each time, make any chance you get to hide food out of your viewpoint so you make fewer food decisions is going to be a huge win for you in this time of maybe you found yourself kind of going to food or using food as that serotonin release, okay? So our loss of routines has blown our habits away. Some of those habits were bad, right? Perhaps maybe every day you got on the train and then you stepped off the train and you walked to the donut, the coffee cart that had donuts. And every morning you promised yourself you weren't going to have the donut, but you saw it, you smelled it. It's a habit, you did it. Maybe there's some bad habits that we can be really glad are gone at this moment, and instead be like, wow, how do I take this extra time where I'm not commuting and trigger it as my routine to exercise, or my routine to go outside and walk with my children? How do I build those habits now in this moment? So that decision fatigue is very strong right now because we are all having to figure out a lot of new patterns. So if you find yourself very tired by the end of the day, I don't want you beating yourself up. We're all kind of experiencing this midday fatigue that is just because we're having to learn so much right now. Perhaps you're having to learn how to use Zoom, and you're having to learn how to use PowerPoint, and you're having to learn how to work in your home and homeschool your children. These are difficult things that we're learning. So give yourself a break right now. Most of all, really understand as well that 80% of the the thoughts that you've had. This is an estimation as well. They estimate that 80% of the thoughts we've had already as well. And our thought patterns are usually not particularly positive. Our thought patterns are usually quite negative and fearful. So if you can begin to understand that and say, hey, I've already had that thought today. I see it as on some sort of a loop. Can I erase that thought and get more in touch with what is actually happening now, right? So like right now, where are you sitting? I'm sitting at my desk. I can feel this sort of faux wood grain underneath me, and I can ground myself and be more present, right? So a lot of what I've learned about weight loss stress management is that it is about learning to manage thoughts, feelings, emotions, and understand how habit patterns work. Okay, just checking. So someone's asking if I will share the slides afterwards. I'm more than happy to do that. So I am saying I wanted to really educate you guys, because I think being a weight loss expert and having suffered from weight, management my entire life, learning some of what we know now about how the brain gets triggered through these habit loops, and how, whenever, what we know now is that whenever you see food, smell food, or talk about food, you will actually be triggered to eat food. So I tell you this because we're going to talk a lot about how we can reduce that decision-making by not seeing food, smelling food, or talking about food so much. And I have a few examples up here that pre-COVID-19 were quite impactful because they're so powerful. If you go to any stores now that traditionally wouldn't be somewhere where you would think you could buy food, right? Something especially like a Home Depot. But you get to their checkout, or the Old Navy, you get to the checkout and there is a huge line or a maze of food. There's a maze of soda and chips and cookies and things like that. They are selling that food there because they know that you will buy it. Right? And a place like an Old Navy makes quite a good margin on their food. In fact, a much better margin than they make on the clothing. And the clothing goes out of style in 6 months, but that food can make it, through 2023 on that shelf. So everyone has figured out that the human animal is quite triggered by just seeing food in their path, right? So I wanted you to know that seeing food, smelling food, or talking about food will trigger you to eat it. And that makes sense because as we were developing, our prehistoric development, we needed to eat the food that we found. We needed to overeat. We needed to eat, whatever we found, and we didn't have a fridge or a microwave. So we had to overeat. We had to overcompensate for the times at which we didn't. So if you've had that happen to you before, where you've gone perhaps to a restaurant and said, oh, I'm so stuffed, I couldn't eat another bite, but they bring around the dessert cart and suddenly you have like a second stomach. That is because it is truly part of our makeup to be able to overeat. So there's nothing wrong with you, but can we begin to manage and understand this reaction that we have to food? And can we do it through habit formation and behavior patterning? We can. So another big piece of what we know about food and weight loss now is that much of our past, especially someone like myself who dieted and dieted and dieted, our exposure to and our feelings of failure around food have led to feelings of guilt and shame. And that when we really look at how guilt and shame manifest under an MRI on our brain, funnily enough, guilt and shame actually activate the reward center in your brain. They get you to do whatever it was that you were doing that you didn't want to do. And I saw this happening when I was at Weight Watchers. I would weigh thousands of people, right? I weighed in thousands of people over time. And someone would invariably come up to the scale and say, oh, I had this great week. And then I was doing so well. And then I went to a party Friday night and I only had 39 points left and I ate 42. And I felt so bad about it. The next day I ate 750. So I was always shocked by that behavior because I had had it myself. And now to understand that when we feel guilt or shame over something that we've done, we end up activating the reward center of our brain, and we then tend to overdo something. And it doesn't have to be food. It could be, shopping or gambling or something like that. So it's a wonderful thing to understand, is that if we can eradicate the guilt and shame from making a perceived mistake around your weight loss or around your food choices, and we can replace that perceived mistake with the complete dropping of any guilt or shame around it, and instead just moving you forward. And really, to do that, what we know now is that gratitude is the key. Gratitude actually releases dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin. It is this magical sort of salve for when you're feeling guilt and shame around any choices. And we can be talking about food, or we can just be talking about how difficult some of our decisions are right now. Am I making the right decision letting my 15-year-old son play as much Fortnite as I am, like that? I'm using these tools right now on myself all day long, every day right now, to reduce my own anxiety and to say, you know what? I'm grateful that his grades are good. I'm grateful that he is getting his schoolwork done. I'm grateful for online gaming so he can be with his friends when he cannot be with his friends. And I will continue to try to bring structure into his life, make him get outside, make him get exercise, right? So the gratitude piece makes me feel like so much better. So really want you focused on gratitude as we go forward in this uncharted time. Again, the tools that will benefit you the most, and this is my favorite chart. I've had this chart for many, many, many years, and it just is the most wonderful way to think about what's happening for us right now. This is called the levels of change chart. And when I'm trying to coach a weight loss client or group, the very first thing that I talk to them about is that their environment is going to be the key to their success. And this goes for us right now in general, right? Our environment, how we set it up, how we organize it, right? There's even science behind this in the weight loss world of you leave a bowl of fruit on your counter and you hide cookies and snacks in a bin that you can't see through on a higher shelf, and there's a reduction in your weight. There's a reduction in your caloric intake. We can track it. So this idea that your environment is the key. So I want you kind of thinking, as we're sitting here today, what environmental shifts could you make, right? So for me, we can go back to the nighttime eating, right? Let's go back to that as an environmental problem. Okay, so let's just say we do that. We move you up into your bedroom to watch your nighttime television programs. You are up there, which triggers a new thought process, seeing new things, hearing new things, being comfortable in your bed, not being on that couch in that same space in an environment, not being triggered. You reduce your nighttime eating. Okay, so you change your behavior. Your environmental change led to a behavior change. That behavior change perhaps will make you lose weight, because now you're not taking in 400, 500, 600, 700 extra calories in the evening. Suddenly you start losing weight and you realize, oh my gosh, this isn't about a magical food plan. This is about me systematically understanding how I'm being triggered, how I'm reacting, and taking control of that. So suddenly your environment changed your behavior, which made you feel capable. Once you felt capable of this weight loss or of this changes, of this new job, of whatever it is, of this new thing that we're living through, you begin to believe in yourself. You begin to believe like, well, maybe I will actually lose this weight. Wow, this isn't at all what I thought it was. It's all about me, having my eyes open and making these shifts and changes. And then eventually that leads to our identity change. Our understanding who we are now without this weight issue or without these issues. So this so beautifully works for what's going on for us right now, right? If you want to translate this into setting up a work at home environment, right? Setting up a work at home environment, or cleaning out the kitchen, or making room in a bedroom to, shift into an exercise space. You make a shift in your environment, which changes your behavior, which makes you feel capable, eventually believing in yourself, and further at the end of it all, feeling like you have a new identity. So the tool that's been helping my folks the most at this time is to not overwhelm themselves, to not get outside of themselves, to not say, oh, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going on a diet at this crazy time. The thing that's been helping them the absolute most is to really reduce the time frame of which they're thinking about. So I can understand if you're here and you heard a weight loss expert was on and you wanted to hear what she had to say, and she's lost all this weight and kept it off. I'm here to say that every success story I've ever seen was about lowering the bar on yourself and saying, I understand that I would like to lose weight, that is my overarching goal. That's fine. But right now, in where we are, to reduce anxiety and stress, I created this little worksheet, and you can see it's not fancy. It was in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And all I did was really put hour by hour, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I've been working with my clients at making good choices in just a 24-hour time frame, and saying, okay, you know what? When am I going to wake up tomorrow? What is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Could I make a loose outline of some healthy choices that I have in the house? What I've learned over time is you all know what to eat. I've never met a person who doesn't know that an apple is a better choice than a Snickers bar. I've never met one. Y'all know what the healthy choice would be tomorrow for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The question is, can we jump the gap from action to intention, right? So intention to action. So by outlining it, you're increasing your chances by about 80%. By just saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to have a scrambled egg with a little bit of cheese and some, I don't know, leftover broccoli for breakfast tomorrow. And you just jot it down and you leave it somewhere where you can see it. And then when you wake up and you don't want to think, because who wants to make all those decisions all day, you've already kind of loosely outlined it. And maybe you say, oh, I don't really feel like that, but I could add some salsa to it and put it in a wrap and make an egg wrap, and that's cool, right? We will move towards our own health and wellness. We will reduce anxiety. We will reduce decision making by really kind of saying, I'm gonna reduce the time frame with which I'm thinking right now. So taking that 24 hours, and you can make this little worksheet up yourself, and really just each day, and my husband and I often powwow for, thinking through the next 24 hours, who is taking care of the kids for this block of time, and who is doing this for this block of time? When am I getting my exercise? When are you getting your exercise? What is my one small indulgence? I think right now we can get really lost in the fear and sort of that the brain and the news and the fear about what will this eventually be. And I keep trying to take you back to the moment or the day that you are in. And I want you to have one small indulgence every day. Now that could be something like, okay, I am going to have some dark chocolate in the afternoon, and I'm going to really look forward to that. For me, last night, it was watching the Michael Jordan, I'm a Chicago girl. It was watching that Bulls documentary that is so fascinating for me. And I looked forward to it all day. And it gave me just a little bit of joy of that I had something in my pocket that was just for me. So I think whatever that is, I want you guys really thinking through, how do you get some alone time? How do you get some connective time? Right? I'm trying to encourage people to actually get on their video calls and not hide their faces, because we do better when we see other people's expressions, when we share expressions. So connecting even when we can't connect And what is one small goal for the day, right? So I am a wino. I love wine. I'll tell you, wine is a depressant. I am trying to stay as far from it as I can right now. And that's some days is easier than others. I had some over the weekend and I woke up on Monday and felt like I don't feel as positive. I don't feel as energetic because I'd allowed some alcohol in over the weekend. So my goal on Monday was like, just get through 24 hours. It isn't, I'm not going to have another drink for like the rest of this pandemic. No, it's like, I'm not going to have a drink today. And that was, okay, I realized, okay, we had been going out to my front porch every night at about 6 and my husband was pouring a drink and it became a habit over the weekend. And by 3 nights in a row of doing that six-ish on a porch, it became a habit. So Monday, I knew I could not go on the porch. So we went out in the backyard and played a little yard game instead. And that just that distraction, that technique of shifting and changing that one little thing. So just understand, we all, even when you've gotten your weight off and you've kept it off and you're an expert, I'm still navigating each day. What are the habits and behaviors that I want to be watching out for? And how do I trigger a new routine for a new reward? And the reward for me was this, waking up yesterday, waking up today, feeling like myself, having energy and getting all that positivity back that wine seems to kind of sap from me. So the other tool, other than the 24-hour worksheet, the other tool that I'm sort of famous for, and I want you to take some time to do this, is just sit down and write out 5 healthy breakfasts, 5 healthy lunches, and 5 healthy dinners, and 5 healthy snacks. You know them inside and out. If you're like me, you've been dieting your whole life, you can tell me that, okay, yes, tuna salad on 1 slice of bread with melted cheddar cheese in the toaster oven is a great lunch. Breakfast, oatmeal, Greek yogurt with berries, eggs. I just want you to outline them, leave this somewhere where you can see it so you don't have to make those decisions over and over and over again. At this time, you're going to want to really be looking at what you've got available, because if, like me, we are really working hard to use what we've got and not overbuy or go to the store often. So using those fresh ingredients before they go bad. If they're going bad, and putting them in soups and smoothies. I'm really organized right now as to not what I'm eating next Friday, but just what I'm eating today, so that I can use what I've got. If you are having trouble with just preparing meals for people and having things in the house that you don't know what to do with, there's this great little cooking app called Supercook, where you just put in whatever it is. Oh, I have potatoes, I have salsa, I have, greens, I've got ground meat, and it gives you like 5 or 6 recipes with those particular foods that you can use. So it's just a little resource for you guys. So we've talked about the habit loop. I've given you a couple of really important tools, but we want to kind of understand that most of us have created habit loops around emotional eating, around stress, right? So just like the loop that I taught you, when you feel stress, habitually you have put food in, which releases serotonin, which calms the stress. So you have done nothing wrong. In fact, you have done everything right. You're very smart, but it's not working for you physically, emotionally, health-wise. So understanding, and again, this is a habit, right, would be of running late, which creates a huge amount of stress, right? Or another habit that I see that creates stress is procrastination. Perhaps right now, turning on the news too much. Right? There might be a habit to go and check the news too much and watch too much and take in too much information. I need you to understand that there are not just physical, there are physiological reasons you eat more when you're stressed. The body actually releases some hormones and chemicals that make you hungrier. So reducing that stress and understanding that stress only gets reduced when you actively go in and stop it. When you actively take action and say, I am going to go for a walk outside and reduce my stress. Otherwise, the stress just keeps rolling at a very low level. And what it does is it just kind of, it kind of releases adrenaline, it releases some cortisol, and over time those hormones make you actually hungrier. And you're not hungry for apples, you're hungry for salt, sugar, and fat. So you really want to start to think about as one of your tools, and especially in this 24-hour outline here, how am I going to stop the stress from rolling? What works for me? And what works for me may not work for you. I'm a huge fan of meditation. I'm a huge fan of I take 2 walks a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. Even if it's 5 minutes of getting a little bit of outside air, it's better than me sitting in my house. I get just like more and more and more stressed. So you've got to figure out and try to schedule in your 24 hours how you will stop that stress loop, how you will really stop it from kind of grinding through the day. And I think you'll really, it could be knitting or sewing. It could be so many different things for you. But understanding why you've put food in the past, that it's such a powerful and wonderful release of serotonin that we get from food. We can look at your MRI and we can see, just like any kind of drug, it releases this rush of serotonin. So you've been very smart. Now we just have to understand, where is the trigger? What is the routine that I go through, and what is the reward that I'm getting? So I understand very clearly what stress feels like for me now. And I very clearly have a big arsenal of things that I can go and do that are not food related. I will tell you this. Food is like a best friend, and food is so easy, and food is so quick. It gives you that payoff and that benefit really, really quickly. So I understand. I think thinking through that key piece that I talked about, which was your environment. Don't bring the things in your house that will create the ease of the using of that, right? So I'll go back to my love of having a glass of wine. When I knew I needed to get that out, I made sure that there was no wine in the house, because I'm not going to go out right now and buy it. So making sure that your environment is clear, making sure that you have a plan for the next 24 hours where you keep the goals moderate, are going to be really important. And eradicating guilt and shame, I think, will be the biggest piece. And I think that eradication of guilt and shame was my real draw to Shapa, because I saw through my own life that the scale created huge amounts of guilt and shame for me. If the scale went down, I was somehow some sort of a hero. If it went up, I was a horrible person. It derailed me. It made me eat more. It was just a really bad relationship that I had created from a very, very young age. So when I heard about this device, so Shapa is a scale. You can see this woman, she's standing here on the device here. It is a scale, but it doesn't show you your number. And the goal here really was to create this beautiful device that you could put anywhere in your home, right? So you could leave it in your kitchen because it looks like kind of like a piece of the floor. It's really quite a beautiful device. And the idea would be, and the knowledge that we have is that just by stepping on a scale, we have seen that people change their behavior for the better part of that coming day. So the idea behind this, the brilliance of the creation of this device was, could they make a device that was appealing enough that didn't have any of those feelings of guilt and shame around it, and that people would be willing to step on? So Shapa created this beautiful scale. They have this incredible app that, as I say, it doesn't give you a number. When you step on the scale, you open your app and it gives you instead a color to let you know if you're heading in the right direction, and a chronological age based on your health, basically your health indicators. So what it created, and what the request was, is for you to step on it every single day and create a habit. Right now we know what habits are. Put it somewhere where you see it, step on it every single day, and see these suggested behavior changes based on a really extensive kind of like, background that they take on you. There's a targeted program that gets created. So you step on the scale, you open your app, it tells you if you're heading in the right direction, if your age is coming down and you're getting healthier, and then recommends, 1, 2, 3 small things. Remember, again, small things that you could be working on at that time. Is it drinking an extra glass of water before every meal for the next 3 days? What is it? What does it look like? So it really is such an incredible tool, that I wanted you guys all to hear about it, because I think at this time, getting on a regular scale, trying to do a traditional weight loss program, I think it sounds like basically torture to me, because we're having so much input of negativity right now, that what I've seen to be the most successful in my career at weight loss is when we can totally reframe this project, reframe it as fun, reframe it as changing behaviors, reframe it as a game that, okay, where could I put that table so that I don't put my drinks and my snacks on it? Where could I move to so that I don't drink wine on the porch with my husband? I don't find that negative. I find it fun and positive and interesting. So can we reframe it? And I feel like Shapa really does that and provides you with this sort of guided sort of wellness in-home tool. And what we know is, honestly, if you step on it, they have plenty of research now. The people that are stepping on it regularly are losing weight. Katie probably has better numbers than me. I can't remember the exact percentages, but it's incredible what they've done. So I guess now that you understand, I hope to give you just this new reframe on how it is that you can take this time to focus on your wellness, focus on you. Take any minutes that you've gotten back in your life due to not commuting, not traveling, not, being in an office, and reframe. How could I trigger new behaviors? How could I begin to see this as a new process? So this is an opportunity from my perspective. Use the tools that I'm recommending here. You don't need the worksheets. You need an Excel spreadsheet, and you need a piece of paper to outline your 5, 5, 5s. And then consider, really thinking about getting a Shapa scale. They are giving me a code just for the next 48 hours that anybody who does end up getting a Shapa scale using, when you go to the website, which is myshapa.com, if you use the code ShapaLiz, you'll get the scale for free, which is crazy. Just get the scale, which is usually $99. This is a beautiful high-end scale. It's measuring it's measuring not just your body weight, but your body fat percentage and your lean mass and all of these different incredible indicators. You'll get the scale for free if you use this code ShapaLiz at myshapa.com. And the only thing you'll be paying for is that, what it would be a monthly sort of subscription fee that is actually less than $8 a month. I think it's $7.90 per month for the actual missions and the program that you're given and all of the bells and whistles that come with the app itself. So it is a limited time. And not only can you use the Shapa for yourself, but you can use it for up to 7 family members. So, which is fun. It's great, especially I get a lot of clients asking me to work with their kids. And I never want to talk weight loss with kids, but I always want to talk healthy habits and teach them that eating fruits and vegetables is great. So even you can use it with your kids and have them begin to learn these great healthy habit missions that are fed to them each day in this sort of fun and interesting outline. So yeah, it is an incredible tool. You do get this big deal today. Again, use ShapaLiz at myshapa.com for a free scale. You'll only be paying for that sort of less than $8 a month plan for 1 year of the subscription. So I want to make sure to answer any questions that you might have. I'm just going to kind of go back here to our habit loop for a second. I want to make sure to open the floor to you guys and really talk through maybe what some of your goals are right now. Maybe we can even have you all just in the chat begin to think about, what do you want to see happen in the next 24 hours? Is it like, you know, hey, I want to just work on my breakfast and maybe getting outside twice a day? What are your goals? And what are your questions now that I've kind of rambled at you now for about 40 minutes? I have plenty of time. I've saved some time to answer your questions, and please do let me know what your goals are in the chat. Okay, thank you, Anne Easley. I appreciate you. She's got to go for a work-related meeting, but I'm so grateful you were here with me today, and I love that you're expressing gratitude, because gratitude is magical. We're just asking if we can get a copy of the presentation. I'll just make sure at the end of this call that that's okay, and we'll get it out to you guys if that's going to be okay with everybody. Excellent. I love this, Susan. That's perfect. I think getting out, taking a break from your computer is really important. I've been talking to a lot of people. They're getting, guys, you got to understand that stress is manifested when we sit and we hunch our shoulders. We actually decrease our lung capacity down to, you know, just teeny tiny little raisins, right? They're not filling up with air, and we're not getting oxygen, and we're getting more and more anxious. So if you could really set 5 to 10 minutes at the end of every single meeting to get up and get around and walk around, it's going to change your day. It really will. So I love this, Susan. I want you to set some triggers, right? Use your phone, set some alarms, trigger those new behaviors where you stand up. I've been doing this for so long, this sort of working from a Zoom call, and I've triggered those behaviors that I will get to the end of this and just naturally, it's a habit now. I don't think about it. I will stand up, I'll walk around, I'll take a break in between every meeting. Oh, Pam has said her goal is to cut out grazing on snacks throughout the day. I love it. Just 3 meals, right? That's a wonderful outline for, you know, really thinking through your day. It's like, you can just kind of begin to grab food, because now you know you're being triggered by seeing it. Every time you see the food, every time I have to make my son some freaking mac and cheese or something, I'm like, I want to take 6, you know, bites of it, but I see that I'm just being triggered, that my mouth is watering because I'm around it, not because I'm actually hungry. So I love it. So good. I love everyone's taking a lot of tips. Yes. So I love, and even thinking through this, Deirdre is talking about when you go back to the office, there's a table of treats, right? I've helped a lot of people overcome these office treats by not saying, oh, I'm going to hold on, white knuckle it, no, but by almost changing their routine patterns of like not going in to see that, making sure they walk a different direction, right, down a different hallway if possible, just like really, really, thinking through the logistical environmental changes, making sure they don't go in there. Maybe they go and eat their lunch in a different room, making sure they don't see that food, because the less we see it, the better we do. So great. Oh, I like this one. And not go for that glass of wine the second you come out of your home office. Yep. You're exactly right. You are fatigued, and you've probably set up a habit loop where you begin to look forward to that glass of wine. Because you can't talk to me because I know all about looking forward to a glass of wine, is that it becomes the reward for your long day. So I think like really thinking about how are you going to trigger a new behavior, maybe before that time, go downstairs and put that wine somewhere that you won't see it. And then put a sticky note on the wine cabinet that says, go for a walk. Like you're not allowed to have a glass of wine before you go for a walk. I do a lot of that, kind of leaving myself a sticky note to remind myself that I'm going to try to change a behavior that's so embedded. Okay. Yes. I love it. I love it. I don't want to mess up your name. Is it Jaron? is saying that the starting small and building the routine is, you're talking here about perfectionism. It is so much a part of a success stealer. Perfectionism is horrible. I always say, I don't want to know any perfect people because they would be so boring. I wouldn't want to know anything about them. So like that really relieves me of even needing to be perfect. And I love this, right? This idea. I used to have this thinking of like, if I couldn't go out and run for 30 minutes, what's the point of doing anything? So I would completely stab myself in the foot and not do anything. It's just learned behavior. It's a learned thought pattern. I need you to go in and consistently trigger that any movement is good movement, right? Anything you do is good, and pat yourself on the back, really the way we would with a child, right? Rather than continuously beating ourselves up with negative self-talk and all the rest, instead continuously positively praising ourselves so that we create momentum so we do more. So yes, so I am coming to the end of the hour. Allison is asking about hormonal eating and triggers, or any special tips. I think, again, really learning what physical hunger feels like versus emotional hunger. At the end of the day, those two are very different. I am a 49-year-old woman. I am going into perimenopause, so I know all about like the hormonal shifts that take place. I think what's been the key for me is to really sit down and understand what physical hunger is and what emotional hunger is. Physical hunger sets in very slowly over time. I get a headache, I get lack of concentration, I get all of these sort of physical symptoms. Emotional hunger hits like wildfire. Hormonal hunger, wildfire. It's just, I want. And it is no basis in actual physical hunger. So then I can, once I know the difference, I can distract myself and I can go to, okay, I'm going to take a 10-minute walk, or I am going to set a timer and do, I'm going to call my sister for 10 minutes, or I'm going to go clean the bathroom or fold laundry for 10 minutes. Honestly, it's 10 minutes and it's good. So again, distraction is the key on this all. So Katie, I wanted to give you a moment to kind of wrap this up as we come to the end of this hour. I've really loved being here. What a responsive and amazing group that we've had here today. Anything that you wanted to share? Did I miss anything?
No, thank you so much, Liz. I mean, I'm over here scribbling, taking notes also. I'm like, this is such good takeaways. I mean, one of the biggest takeaways I found that what you said was to lower the bar on ourselves. Like during this time, lower your bar, and then you're gonna be doing great from there. Yeah. Once you lower, like any little win, I got up and I ate when I thought I was, win.
Yes. I sometimes I'm like, I'm breathing, win.
I know.
Like, yeah, no, it really is. It's magical at this time. People fear it. They think if I lower the bar on myself, I won't do. It's the exact opposite. It creates momentum and positivity, and I go, well, if I could do that, well, maybe I could do this too. Okay, I'm going to try that. Now I'm doing that. And it just leads to positive momentum. So I'm so glad that resonated for you.
Totally. And I think with a lot of our Shapa users, like what you said is all of our habits have been turned upside down. So for those who have seen gray, like gray in the beginning of all this, which for those who don't have a Shapa, that means you're starting to trend in the gaining weight. It's just normal, but you stay encouraged because you're not really seeing that number. And we're seeing people being in green and light blue and teal because you have to relearn your habits and give yourself that grace period of like, this is not normal. Like what we're going through is not normal. And like my habits are completely changing. So the tools you gave, like have a routine, give yourself some time. I think they're so helpful.
Good. Well, I put my contact information up here for you guys as well. And I'd love to have you, reach out. If I didn't answer your questions, I want to. So please reach out. You can reach me, on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz Josefsberg. It's a funky spelling here. So just Josefsberg. And I'd love to have you reach out there if I didn't get your question. I promise you I am super responsive because I hope you can tell I love what I do and I want to change lives. And especially right now, I want to support people. So I'm really appreciative to Shapa for having me here today. Don't forget that you can get a scale for free right now. Use the code
Yeah.
SHAPA. Go get one. It's a fabulous tool, and I hope it's really helpful at this time for everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. And I see Vicky, you went and said
Yeah,
darker
look at
lighter,
that.
now green. That's
Oh,
awesome.
Vicky.
And I do see some Shape questions. If we have not answered them, I will go back in and answer them for you guys. But thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you, Liz. This was so helpful. And we will have this up. And if you guys want to see it again, we will upload it soon to our
And
YouTube
we did
channel.
record it, so you'll be able to watch it back if you'd
Mhm.
like, okay? For sure. And I'll be sharing it to my pages as well.
Great. All right. Hope everyone has a great day.
Bye, guys.